Now let's talk about adjusting your trigger. There are actually several adjustments you can make, but there's really one or two main adjustments you can make on this pistol. So let's go ahead and make an adjustment. The most common adjustment is the trigger brake. I want my trigger lighter like my competition gun. I want it heavier, okay? I actually prefer, this is a side note, to make my trigger brake heavier, okay? Because I like to train the muscles a bit more, okay? But some people do like to have their trigger brake lighter. Let me show you how you do this. So the first step is go ahead and I would put the hex wrench in the back portion like this, okay? Now, honestly, sometimes you can just turn this and you can watch it turn on the opposing side, all right? And you can take note how this guy will rotate. Now, what this is doing, if you take a peek at your own SIRT, there's a spring member right here that comes around and it hits the sear spring. As you turn it this way, you see a rotation like that, that's going to increase your trigger brake. Now, I'm actually not having to use the screwdriver. I'm just using this back end, and it's just the way it's tight enough just to provide that movement. So you can see that when I go out here, the trigger brake gets a lot lower, and then I go ahead and rotate it like so with the white portion to the back, and that trigger brake gets heavier, okay? Nice and heavy. I kind of like it heavy like that, all right? So I'm going to adjust this for myself. Boom, I like that heavier trigger. Okay, so that really is the main adjustment. Now, if you did loosen this side up, what you can do is it kind of takes two hands, all right? But you can put a screwdriver on this end to lock it down. And then you take your hex wrench on the opposing side, you simply hold it in place and give it a little bit of a righty-tighty. Okay, just tighten it down just a little bit, okay? Because this screw back here will actually lock down that cam, all right? But generally, if it's friction tight, it's probably going to be good enough. It won't move on you. So that is the basics of adjusting the trigger. Now you may be asking, well, what about some of these other adjustments that are out here? Well, actually, a lot of these we don't recommend adjusting. This one right here adjusts the height of the sear, okay? This guy right here adjusts the starting point of the trigger. The trigger tongue inside actually rests on that guy. So if you wanted to have the trigger come back, you can rotate that around 180 degrees. We recommend just having it set as a live fire tool. This one right here adjusts the mainsprings. If you rotate this, you're taking the middle point of those mainsprings and you're pushing them back to make that take-up force greater. And this rear adjustment is actually for over travel, all right? So if you want more or less over travel is after you brake, it's how much free travel. Right now it's set for like a live fire pistol with approximately about 150 thou of over travel, thereabouts. But you can adjust that to be more or less with that rear one. Normally you don't really have to adjust any of those. In fact, some of these we recommend you do not adjust, in particular this mainspring one and this sear height. You don't have to adjust that sear height. That's pretty much set exactly where the sear is on your live fire pistol. That is some of the basics of adjusting the trigger.